Well, hey, everybody. Welcome tonight back to the Go the Distance podcast, where we have real, raw conversation about real, raw life issues. Don't forget, you can follow us on your podcast app by searching Go the Distance, or on Facebook, or our YouTube channel, Rock Creek Church's YouTube channel. We premiere every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And last week I started a conversation called Dear Teen with my daughter Haley, and she is back again for part 2. This makes 3 podcasts in a row that we've been having a conversation, but our conversation last time was going so well, we just continued it. And so we split it up into 2 parts, so we welcome you now to part 2. 2 great days that happens in everybody's lives. If everybody could experience these 2 great moments in life, it'll change everything about their life. Number 1 is when you figure out what your purpose in life is.
Yeah.
When you finally find your God-given purpose. What did God put you on earth for? Why in the world are you here? That's a great day. The second greatest day is when you figure out why you're here, but you also figure out that it's not all about you, that the world doesn't revolve around you, and everybody's not thinking about you, and everybody's not talking about you, and everybody doesn't wake up every morning thinking, oh, I wonder what pastor's doing today, and everybody doesn't leave church on Sunday and go to lunch and talk about pastor's sermon and if it was good or bad or this or that. And I think a lot of people think the world revolves around them. And so as a result of that, the enemy uses that as a tool to get in their head, and the enemy actually talks to people and tells them things about situations or about people that are complete falsehoods, because the Bible says he's the father of lies.
Absolutely.
And I don't, you've done this, I've done this. We'll have conversations with ourselves and we'll play out complete scenarios with people that aren't even true.
Yeah.
Because the enemy is lying to us, and he's whispering in our ears, oh, this person's against you, or this person's doing this, or they don't think you're important, or they don't think you're good, or all of this.
They think you're weird.
Yeah. And so the enemy starts talking, and he starts creating all these scenarios in your head. And before long, you've got all of these preconceived ideas about people that was placed in your mind by an enemy who's trying to destroy a relationship before it ever starts.
Yeah.
And so this is why Jesus combats this, and he says to his disciples, they're going to know you're mine because you love each other.
Yeah. By how you love.
Yeah, they're not going to go and say, "Oh, look, they've got a theology degree, they got their masters, they're a doctorate of theology." That's how they're going to know. That's not what he said. He said they're not going to know your mind because you preach good sermons or you sing great songs. He didn't say they're going to know your mind because you're a great leader. They're going to know your mind because you love each other. You love all people, people who look like you, people who don't look like you, people who vote like you, people who don't vote like you, people who go to church and people who don't go to church, people that live a little differently than you do, and people who live just like you do. Love people. When we can wrap our mind around the fact that Jesus died for every single person that drives us flipping nuts, it changes things.
Yeah.
When we can figure out that Jesus loves and died for the guy that sat in row 32 on the airplane who thinks he should get off the airplane before the guy in row 8, and you're the guy in row 8. I live in that tension. You live in that tension because the way we're wired is we want to call people out on things. We want to stand up for what's right because it's always right.
Yeah.
It's never wrong to do the right thing. But at the end of the day, we're called to love all people. And I think what you're talking about there is the fact that we just believe things about people that aren't true.
Yeah. Just from an outside looking in perspective.
Yes.
When we don't know their stories, we don't know what they've been through, we don't know what home life looks like for them. We've already made up how we're going to view them.
Well, someone's either told us something about them that's not true, or where they come from, or what they're like because of certain things in their life, or the enemy has told us that.
Yeah.
Like we've literally been told things to be afraid of certain people or to be afraid of certain places. Yet we've never been there or been around those people to really experience if there is something to be afraid of. So, I just think it's very important that we make sure we don't let the enemy lie to us and believe his lies about people.
Absolutely. And I mean, this kind of ties in with all the other ones as well, because if you if you do go against the grain and you do give that person a chance and you do give them the opportunity to prove their reputation right or wrong, you're probably going to walk alone as well.
Yeah.
If you do get out of your comfort zone at the lunch table and you go over to that kid at the other lunch table and you befriend them and you give them a chance to get to know them, to know their heart and to know their story, you're probably going to be ridiculed as well. You're probably going to face the bullets in the back. You're probably going to face losing friends, but you're standing up and you're doing the right thing because you're not making judgments and assumptions on someone else.
Yeah.
And so it all is interconnected, and it's crazy how that's tying in, but you're going to walk alone in that too.
Yeah.
But your Heavenly Father will look down on that and smile because you gave somebody a chance and you didn't write them off because of what you heard about them.
So is there a fourth, or is that it?
There's two more.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I was reflecting hard. Okay. You won't always feel alone. One day you're going to have a group of friends that feel just like brothers and sisters. They'll love you through your darkest days and share in your greatest joys. Just hold on. They're coming.
Yeah. Yeah, your best friends in life usually are found later in life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this again, and everybody watching can watch and listen. If you have one friend in life, you're fortunate.
Absolutely. One genuine,
One
real
genuine
friend.
And you have all your life wanted to be best friends with everybody. And
Yeah, who does it?
Yeah, I know, but we've had, your mom and I have always told you, hey, if you find one genuine friend in life, you're blessed. You
It's
really
the
are.
quality over the quantity. And I think as a middle and high school guy and girl, it's so easy to fall into the trap of quality, or quantity is better than quality, because we all want that praise. We all want to feel like we belong. We want to feel lifted up. And the more people and the more groups we belong to, the more we must be valuable, the more we must matter. And that's not the case. And I think that tied in a lot to the pain I felt as a middle schooler chasing after certain groups because I wanted to belong to the popular crowd. I wanted to belong to the larger group of friends. And I realized once I got to college that, you're not going to have everything in common with everyone. You're not always going to be liked by everyone. You're not always going to click with everyone, but you will find those people who you mesh with someday. And the world is so much bigger than your middle school and your high school class. The world is so much bigger than your graduating class. And those people that you're around right now in your middle school and high school classrooms will not be the only people that you're exposed to for the rest of your life. I have friends in my life who I didn't meet until college. I have friends in my life who I didn't meet until I moved to Nashville. And even when I moved away from Nashville and I'm in Jackson now, there are people I've met that I never would have met outside of Prosper, Texas. But those friendships that I developed in those different seasons of life have been some of the greatest friendships that I have ever had. And those are the friends now these are the friends I went on that weekend trip with to Gatlinburg that feel like brothers and sisters to me because of the things that we have been through, the valleys that we've walked and held each other's hands through, the joys and the mountaintops that we've rejoiced alongside each other with. Those are the kind of friends that I always longed for. Those are the kind of people that I wanted to surround me in middle and high school, but I just didn't have that. And I think too, it's because as middle and high school students, we don't always see that as being the epitome of what friendship is. We see friendship as very transactional, what you can do for me and how can you benefit me. But when you become an adult, I think there's something that shifts in you, and it's just more of a, you just understand like this friendship is bigger than what you can do for me and how you benefit me. This friendship is family. This friendship it's deeper than that. I'm choosing to stick with you because I want to, not just because it's convenient for me.
It's called maturity. It's you grow up.
Yeah.
And you realize that there's more to relationships than transactions. There's sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's unconditional love. There's forgiveness. There's grace. And at the end of the day, it's not about competition.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You're not competing for, starting lineup. You're not competing for valedictorian. I was not valedictorian, but
yeah, you didn't graduate cum laude. You graduated, you bet your mommy, and
I was run of the mill, middle of the class,
salt of the earth.
Yep.
Yes,
amen.
But what I'm saying is just even beyond that, there's just competition to outdo each other constantly. Well, I love you so much, but boy, I'll try to outdo you in a heartbeat.
Right, but I'll stab you in the back the first chance I get. If it means I get to go before you.
Yeah. So I think true maturity in life, especially in relationships, comes when you stop competing with each other.
Right.
for the praises of men
Yeah.
or the praises of women. You stop competing for the praises of society, and you just live in harmony and unity with being at peace that God is pleased.
Yeah, for sure. And there were many seasons of my middle and high school career, and even some in my early college career, that I felt utterly alone. And there are times, like you and Mom can attest to this, and Mom specifically can attest to this because she walked a lot of this with me. There were seasons that I didn't want to live anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There were seasons that I never had a plan, but I didn't want to wake up the next morning. I didn't want to have to go to school and face people because I felt so alone. There were seasons when I couldn't get out of bed because I felt the weight of I don't belong. I don't have people. I don't fit in. Even though the outside world would tell you I did. The outside world would say, well, you have this group of girls. You're on this team. You're a part of this. Like, what do you mean? But it's deeper than what is on the outside. It was what I was feeling in my heart of just this loneliness that was so just apparent in my spirit. And I remember feeling and thinking, this is going to be forever. This is never going to go away. I'm always going to feel like the outcast. I'm always going to feel alone. I'm always going to feel like I don't matter. But the Lord is so kind, and He was so, so good to me in college to give me friends that are still best friends to this day. The one I think of specifically is my friend Haley, who now lives in Nashville. But she and I walked through some really hard seasons together in college, and I got the joy of standing next to her on her wedding day when she got married last November. And now she's expecting her first child, and I get the joy of walking through that season with her. And she is such a dear friend that when I was 15, I had no idea that Haley even existed. Never knew that she was even a person on this planet. But the Lord, in His graciousness and then just in His timing, as a freshman in college, I met her and we began a friendship that is so strong to this day. And then I think through my friends in Nashville, and I think through my roommates and in Jackson, I think through these specific people that I had no idea that would even step into my life, but have stepped in, and they've chosen to stay. And they've chosen to walk through life with me and to not walk out on me. Yeah. And I don't feel that deep loneliness anymore.
Well, you may feel lonely, but in Christ, you're never alone. And I know we need to get to the last one, but I just, to a mom or a dad right now, specifically to a mom, and you're raising a teenage girl, and she's going through that. Just hang in there. Encourage them, love them. You eventually turn 25.
You eventually get out of your hometown. You eventually get out of high school and middle school, and you see that the world is so much greater and bigger than you could have ever imagined. And there are people who fit you perfectly that you wouldn't have had the chance to meet in those seasons.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing too, is seasons. Every season is different. And some friends in some seasons aren't for all seasons. There are friends that I had in high school that were dear friends, and you know some of those girls, and you're friends with some of their dads, and you know we hung out, and they were great girls. But we're not close anymore because seasons have changed. If we saw each other today, we would pick right back up. But they were great friends for that season. And then you transition and you enter a new season, and you find new friends for that season. And then some of those don't stay. So we have to be gracious and willing to be open-handed with our friendships too.
Well, I have friends in every ministry I've served in. I have friends in Abilene, I have friends in Springfield, and I have friends here. But I don't see them anymore. Those were seasons.
Yeah.
But they're still my friends. We still have, if I walked into the churches today, I would hug their necks and they'd hug my necks, and we'd go get a cup of coffee or lunch or something. But there are seasons. And at the same time, not every kid that you were around growing up was bad.
No.
We don't want to make it sound like it was a horrible.
There were some great girls that I had around
but you
me.
just dealt with regular teenage girl stuff, which probably at the end of the day they were dealing with too.
Absolutely. In their own capacity, they would have a very similar story. I think we would all agree that all of our stories sound very similar. They just have different details to the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So give us the last one.
Last one, I think my last one was going to be, this season isn't forever. Life will look so very different in the next 5 to 10 years, which I think we've covered plenty, that life will change. And this season will, as painful as it is now, will not always feel this way.
You will not always have hair.
Yeah, that's true for you.
But you will be bald many years after you had hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as we've been talking, something that came to my mind was more for the parents. because I think and this might step on people's toes, but whatever. I have a knack for doing that anyway. It's just who I am. I think a lot of what our girls and our guys feel, a lot of what they experience stems from what is in the home. And unpacking this, a lot of how a girl views herself, her body, her beauty, how she views her self-worth and image comes from how she sees her mom view herself and how she sees her mom talk about herself. And so that's something that I, as an adult, I want to be very cautious of how I talk about myself in front of teen girls. As if I get the opportunity to become a mother one day to a girl, I want to be very cautious and careful about how I speak about myself in front of her. We have to be kind about ourselves, have grace with ourselves, because we're teaching them whether we realize it or not. We don't want them to grow up, destroying themselves with their own words. The world is cruel enough. We don't have to be cruel to ourselves. We teach our children so much about how to love others based on the dinner conversations we have around the table. If you're a mom and your dad and you're sitting around the dinner table with your kids and you're bashing the kid on the sports team that you don't like, or you're bashing their family and their parents, your kids are learning and picking up on it's okay to talk bad about people. It's okay to pick up, or it's okay to degrade somebody because they don't look like me or they don't have a similar background as me. It's okay to talk poorly about them around the dinner table. And if we are a group of parents and we're sitting around and we're gossiping about so-and-so down the street, our kids are going to pick up on that too. And I would just...
Can I say something there? I think sometimes as teenagers, specifically in the sports world, the competition is not between the kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think the competition is actually between the parents, and they're competing with each other through the actions of their children.
Right.
Pitting
them against each other.
I think in most cases, the kids really don't really want to compete against each other. They want to complete each other. They want to be a team.
Yeah.
But we live in such a self-driven society where the concept of team is gone.
Yeah.
It's now all about elevate my kid. I want my kid to shine. I want my kid to be the most important, the best. And parents will go to any length. They'll break their neck to get their kid to be the best.
To be number one.
To be number one at a certain sport or a certain activity or certain skill set or gift.
But it's going to come at a cost.
Absolutely.
Later down the line.
I've watched parents break their necks to get kids to ball games, but never, ever think about maybe I ought to get them to the church.
Right.
And so what they're picking up on around, not just in the dinner table, but around that kind of atmosphere is life revolves around me. It's about me. And then the concept of reality of life hits them after high school, and they realize the world doesn't revolve around me. And they have a hard time functioning in that. So, your grandparents never made the world revolve around me, ever. They pushed me in sports. They pushed me in music. But it wasn't always about...
It wasn't the Brad show.
No. And they would be quick to tell me when I did well, and they'd be quick to tell me when I needed to work harder. So you have that whole dynamic of it's about my kid, and then you have the dynamic of everybody getting an award for just showing up, and you're creating a toxic culture of young people who don't know what it is to strive for excellence and to work hard. And when you fall down, pick yourself up and learn from the failure to be better. Listen, the scoreboard may read 60 to 50, but that doesn't mean you're a loser if you had 50. It means you need to get better. You're not a loser because you lost the game. The loser is the one who doesn't learn anything from the defeat.
Yeah.
And so
doesn't work harder to get better.
Right. And so I think parents, here's another thing. Why are we surprised when kids leave the church when they're 19, when all we did was talk bad about our church when they were growing up in our houses or our pastors?
We bashed the leadership. We bashed every aspect of it. We talked trash about student ministry, whatever. Yeah.
Or why would they respect the position of a pastoral authority if you as a parent doesn't respect it? So, I mean, I think there's some deep things we're unpacking here, but I think what you're seeing is that's the culture and that's the toxicity of this culture right now.
Well, and just to bring it back, kind of where I was trying to get at the beginning is parents, don't discredit your influence that you have in this season. Your kids, no matter how much you think that they're paying attention, they are so much soaking in what you are living out in your day-to-day life that they will model in their own life one day. No matter how hard we try to get them to be different than us, or have a better life than us, or whatever, however hard we try to fix them, if we don't first realize that they are learning from us and that we are going to be what they model someday, it's not going to be any different. And so our actions have to match up with what we're trying to preach to them. Our actions and the way that we live and view ourselves and view the world around us has to match what we're trying to get them to replicate one day, because they will. And one day they're going to be the grown adults that have to make the choice. Am I going to repeat what my parents did, or am I going to go a different way? And I thank the world that I had you and Mom that kind of put me in my place. You guys never bailed me out. Like if I got in trouble at school, or if I, on the sports team, y'all told me, figure it out. Like you made the choice.
If you really, truly got yourself there.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, I remember when I made some poor decisions in my late teens, early 20s, and the parenting of me was, maybe you need to spend a night in jail. Maybe get your attention, rather than constantly bailing me out of things or covering for me. And learning your lesson. Sometimes tough love is the best love, and just saying, you know what, you're toxic right now to this family. You're toxic to me, and I just can't have that toxicity around us. But no, there were times when we had to let you figure it out. We weren't going to cover for you.
Yeah, and I don't want to bash on parents and make you feel bad.
No.
But I just want to encourage you and remind you that speak kindly to your children when, obviously there is discipline moments and you have to, but,
encourage
your kids. Yeah. Speak, don't put them down. If your kid is struggling with body image, if your kid is struggling with confidence, don't beat down on them. Encourage them and, challenge them where they need to be challenged, but speak kindly to them, because they are fragile and they are going to live out what they experience as a teen because of what the things you said to them and the tone that you said it, and the way the conversations go in your household. They're gonna have those same conversations one day in a similar tone. And so just be cautious and be mindful, because we're raising very fragile humans that are in such crucial developmental years that we don't need to baby them, but we do need to be aware. Yeah.
So I told you at the beginning, this is a podcast about real, raw conversations about real, raw life issues. And so that's what we've done here. We've had just real, raw conversation. And not everybody's going to agree with everything we said. Not everybody's going to like everything we said. That's fine. You have all the liberty to do that. We're just speaking real and raw from our hearts and from our lives. But I really want to get real and raw right now. As we close this out. No, I think God, the Spirit of God is leading me to go in this direction. And then we'll be done.
I'm nervous. I'm like, I don't know where this is going.
You're fine. It's all about me, not you.
Oh,
Trust
okay.
me. Which, by the way, you have 5 things there. Number 6 would be, if I could go back and talk to teenage Haley, I would tell them your mom and dad are awesome.
Absolutely. My parents were great and perfect. Never messed up.
So not only did we have struggles, obviously, raising you as a teenager, specifically in your junior high years, it got better in your high school years. But when you went away to college, I don't remember if it was your freshman year, but I think it was probably your sophomore year. You came home for Thanksgiving week, and you may not even remember this, and you may. We did not have a good visit. It was not a good week. And maybe it was, you were already out of college. I don't know.
Was it last Thanksgiving?
No. It wasn't last Thanksgiving. This was years ago. This would have been 5 years ago.
Okay.
No, we had a great Thanksgiving last Thanksgiving. Did we not?
Do you not remember a certain dinner conversation that I walked away from the table and we were all in tears?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So it wasn't that one.
Well, it was. We were arguing about something. Yeah, and I was standing strong, and you were headstrong.
Well, I was calling you out on something that you needed to honestly be made aware of that you didn't like.
Yeah.
And you were ticked that your 24-year-old daughter had called you out.
Real and raw, right here, baby. So it was like 5-6 years.
Okay.
It's 5 years ago. We just did not have. It just wasn't. You came home knowing everything.
Oh, I was an educated college student.
Yeah,
I did know everything.
and we just had to have some tough conversations, and you just went back to school, and it just wasn't a good visit, and so I had the opportunity about 2 months later to go to San Antonio for a Vision Texas Church Planters retreat with your mom, and then Greg and Dee Jones went with us, and we all rode in the same vehicle. So we carpooled, or we rode together down to San Antonio for the 2-day meeting, and then we rode back. And of course, Dee Jones is a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yep.
And so on the way home, I just decided to begin to ask Dee about some of the things that we had experienced at Thanksgiving with you. And Dee and your mom were in the back seat of Dee and Greg's truck, and Greg and I was in front. Greg was driving, and so I kind of turned around sideways, and I was talking to Dee. We were about 4 hours from home when that conversation started.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good long time to talk.
For free, I got 4 hours of counseling from Dee. And by the time we were done, and she had uncovered every single layer of the onion, peeled it back, I found out that my issue was not with you. My issue was with me. And that everything I was struggling with you, in particular that week, was really went back to struggles that I had with my dad and my mom. And just certain things that were buried deep into my heart, and the expectations of my life that I was putting onto your life.
Probably out of some hurt, areas of hurt.
Yeah. And so what I ended up doing, I got peace about the fact that I'm really not at odds in with my daughter. I'm at odds in with myself. And I need to get peace in my own life with God. And I need to come to grips with these things that I'm still carrying that are now being put onto my daughter. And so I don't know if you knew that happened, but I just told Sarah, your mama, I just said, we can't have a visit like that again. I can't let that happen because I'm putting unfulfillable expectations on her. She's never going to fulfill those expectations. But they're expectations that I feel like I've never fulfilled in my life. And so really it's me talking to me is what it is. And you're so much like me that it was like me talking to me. Yeah. And so I think that's a great way to wrap it up, is that just as in parenting, and I'm still learning this, and that's probably what happened last year when we had a tough conversation, is that at the end of the day, sometimes I think we put on our kids things that we still feel unfulfilled or that didn't get accomplished in our own lives.
Or hurts that we felt as maybe a junior high student that we don't want our kid to feel. And so we teach them almost how to be, the opposite and the bully, so that way they don't feel that way. Or I don't know, there's just so many different effects. But yeah, your kids are not you. They don't have the same background that you did.
Right.
They have a different story, and that story is going to be lived out differently.
Right.
And they need to have their own clean slate and not carrying your baggage in.
Yeah. It's good stuff. This has been a great podcast, great talk.
I have no business talking on parenting because I'm not a parent.
But you're a ministry, and that's the thing. God has given you the ability to speak into people's lives based on what He's done in your life and the experiences of your life. So, it took 2 parts to get this thing done because it's been such a great conversation. So thank you guys for watching all of our podcasts together, all 3 of them, as we've actually had 2 parts on this conversation of Dear Teen. So thank you so much, Haley. We love you. God bless you, and God bless your ministry and wherever God takes you. I love you, kid.
Love you.
All right. Thank you guys for joining in. We'll see you next time on Go the Distance.